5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, hello, my Richies, and welcome back to another episode of the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. My name is Sarah. I'm your host, and in today's episode, we have a video component because it's my birthday. Well, actually, this is episode 167 for Thursday, which is today that I'm recording this. This is going up late. And then the next day is Friday, my birthday. And in today's episode, we're going to keep it fun. We're going to keep it light. You're going to be talking to me. And we're going to be chit-chatting about the random crap that's been happening in my life the last few weeks, how I'm feeling these days, what my birthday plans are, what books I'm reading, and so much more. So let's jump right on in, I guess, huh? I am turning 39 years old. If you're watching the video version of this podcast, which you can do on Spotify and you can also do on YouTube, you see that I'm wearing an elaborate and fanciful birthday dress. And not that birthday dress, guys, but this gorgeous little sleeved chested number that I got from ASOS 6 or 7 years ago that I wore for a previous birthday. I went to JG Sky High with my cousin Samantha in Philadelphia, and I wore this, and it was delightful. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to fucking wear that dress today. And here I am. And I'm also trying to get used to looking at the camera instead of looking at myself in this recording. So there'll be some learning curves here, guys, but we're learning together, and it's great. I had a video go viral on Instagram for the first time ever that was for me and not for a client. And it was honestly disheartening, and I don't think I want it to happen again, although I'm not quite certain because I'm not going to cut off my nose to spite my face in terms of engagement with Instagram, social media, etc. But I do deeply dislike the amount of mental unwellness and unhingedness that reached my personal life via my page and commenting. It was over the weirdest video ever. It was such a random one-off thing. Like, I love nature. I post about nature all the time. I live on the beach. So, like, every other video that I post is either the beach or a clip of the show that I take from the video, or, just something that doesn't really, like, step too much outside of what I'm typically talking about. But this video, sorry, I'm shutting the door, it's creaking. This video was about a horseshoe crab, and I was teaching people how to flip them over. And when I tell you that, oh my God, I did not expect, one, for it to get as many views as it has, and it's still going. This has been going on for 3 days. But the amount of comments that were just... There were so many amazing ones, so many people that were very informed, or they were like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, I had always seen them and been fucking terrified of them. They look like Predator or Alien or a Pokemon. So many different things that people kept saying over and over that they look like, which I thought was funny. But the main consensus was, okay, cool. Thank you for educating me and letting me know that they're not terrifying. They cannot hurt me in any way, shape, or form. And to help the species stay in the threatened category and hopefully rebound back, I should flip them over. I don't really quite know where I left much room for interpretation, or flat earther theories, or, like climate change being fake. It just like really... The gamut was ran, and it was so disturbing to witness and go through and be like, whoa, like, I got called the C-U-N-T word, not once, but twice, for flipping over a horseshoe crab that is approaching the endangered species list. Man, so many things. But overall, we're going to have a little horseshoe crab lesson here, because I had not realized how many people had, one, let alone never seen them, or two, didn't realize that they couldn't bite you. So here we go. If I get fancy, I may put a clip of it here so you can see what I'm talking about. Let me move over. There we go.
They're going to open up.
I'm going to put the clip here. So basically, a horseshoe crab lives in the ocean. Comes up onto the shores, and sometimes the waves tumble that little bad boy over, and then it's stuck on its back, much like a turtle on its shell. Now, they have a tail that's very sharp that can stab into sand that's at the shoreline because it's heavier and more dense because it's at the waterline. It's full of water. That helps them to be able to make like an Abbey crunch and then they flip over. Or they do like a bridge sort of thing with the tail and then they flip over. But the higher up that they get from the tide, let's say it's high tide, and them little bad boys get towards high tide, and then the tide goes out. Their shell was flipped when the tide was high. Let's say we're on a de-escalating tide scale, and that tide isn't going to come high again for a number of days. That little horseshoe crab is left with not many choices and two very realistic ways of dying, which I've witnessed since childhood happen over and over and over again. So no one could know what to do for these little fuckers better than me because they were literally like in my head, my childhood best friends. And I watched them get slaughtered by the thousands over my lifetime. They either one, die by dehydration in essence, which takes them about 4 days on land, depending on the temperature. So for 4 days, they're literally drying into a potato chip until they die. How fucking excruciating and awful is that? The second way that they go is from seagulls. Seagulls will peck inside of their shell because they know that that's where the blood is. And their blood also coexists somehow, some way, I'm not really sure, with the eggs. The seagulls want to eat the eggs. Further throughout the winter time, when there's not much left, seagulls will resort to eating like a dried up old crab leg that's left over from being brutalized during the summertime when they were harvested for their eggs by the birds. So they basically get pecked to death until they bleed out, which takes forever because they're such resilient creatures. So what do? I fucking flip them. Now let's talk about why we need to flip them and why I'm not interrupting nature's path by keeping them from the birds or from drying out, and it's a numbers game. It used to be a numbers game, and then it simply no longer became a numbers game because human intervention has caused it to now be a conservancy game. People build houses on the shore. I'm guilty of it. I'm on the other side of the street, but I'm still building in their ecosystem, which causes all types of erosion to happen. The steeper the grade of erosion, the lighter and puffier the sand towards the top, the horseshoe crab cannot flip over. End of story. That is all. There's also two more factors that people were quick to bring up. Their blood is worth $16,000 a gallon, so just take that fucker over to a lab facility and like drain his blood and get rich. You're gross. True, but you're gross. And two, they are so important to the ecosystem of the East Coast of the United States that for this single animal to die out would cause thousands of other animals to no longer be able to survive. So like wrap your head around that for a second. It's a super integral creature. It's 445 million years old as a species, older than dinosaurs. And like all you got to do is flip them over. They can't hurt you or bite you. End scene. That's all. Let's move on. There was a brief moment when I was reading through some library books that I had picked up that I was like, ooh, I don't really want to finish you. You're boring me. And old Sarah would have been like, no, bitch, you rented this book. You said you were going to read it. And now you're going to read it no matter what. So I'm saying this as a person that for almost 39 years of my life has been controlled by the need to read the book because I bought the book or I rented the book or I borrowed the book. And you're free to put that bitch back if it doesn't intrigue you after a few pages or even a few chapters. So I did that this week and it feels like such a huge milestone for me and it's so silly to say, but your girl is free. So I did read a book this week that was really great. I cannot find the author online and I really love to interview the authors of the books that I'm reading for the podcast, but this was a book about building your intuition. This book was about building your intuition, and it just had so much information. It was a woo-woo, you know, like as woo-woo as things you're going to get when you're learning about building your intuition and your psychic abilities, but I loved it. It was like an easy breezy, casual book to read. I will put a little picture of it here. Give it a read. I enjoyed it. Can't say that I didn't. It was definitely fun. And I'm like, ooh, I have this psychic ability. I have that psychic ability. And I think you might feel that way too. So you should definitely check it out and don't be judgy. You never know. This past week, I had some really great interviews, and I had two shows go live that I really feel like super proud of. I'll say I'm proud of all of my episodes, but one in particular was very groundbreaking. It was with a woman named Martha Figueroa. She launched the company Butter Cake and another company called Canpowerment. And she is single-handedly whooping the cannabis industry into 2024 in a way that is not only authentic, but like realistic and makes the most sense, both from a consumer perspective and from a production perspective. And the cool thing that she does that makes her different is that Butter Cake is a brownie and, among other edibles, line that is made with real food ingredients. And not only that, she fought to be able to continue using real food ingredients instead of powdered milks and powdered eggs to be able to keep the quality of her product. And as a culinary pastry chef, she is classically trained. Of course, real food ingredients meant the most to her. But as a consumer, don't you want an edible that's made with real food? I know I do. I can't have it because it is gluten, so womp womp. But I encourage you, if you are in the state of New Jersey, Delaware, or Maryland, to give them a try. And I want you to check out the episode. I will put a link in the show notes to that episode. The other episode that we had at lunch was with Cameron Forbes, and she is such a spitfire. She is truly changing the event planning game in New York City and the Hamptons. She recently launched a line called Hours at Yours, and it is a tablescape setup where you can rent for about $250 depending on the size of your party. Tablescapes, from the tablecloth all the way to the tapestries, all the way to the candles. It is crazy. So beautiful, so many styles, obsessed with her. She's so impressive for how young she is and for how long she's been in the game. And I absolutely was just blown away with her creativity and the way in which she has built out her business to not only support her creativity, but to just give herself access to an entirely different crew of people that do want to entertain, but may not have the price point to do it at the same as her corporate clients and some of her larger business accounts. Loved the episode. I will put that in the show notes below as well. For my birthday plans, I just recently decided that I was going to train for a half marathon. The half marathon is in Cape May around Halloween. And I decided to start training for the marathon because I am just like, I need a little something more. I need something to train for my body. And I wanted it to be something that I could do solo. And I wanted it to be something that isn't going to add any more memberships, this, that, to my life to achieve it and accomplish and gain and like grow. So running is it. I've run numerous times in my life for great periods of my life before. I've run a ton of Broad Street runs, and they're like 10-miler straight down Broad Street in Philadelphia. So the most I've ever run before in training for that was like an accidental 11 miles. And I'm excited to go for the 13.1. I have not ran in probably a year and a half, maybe two. And today's first run, because I did it today, was rough, but I got it done. I watched a form video before I decided when I was going to start doing this, and I realized my form was such trash. It was literally prohibiting me every single step of the way. So once I realized that I could set myself up for greatness just by having way better form and being cognizant of my body and how it needs to function, the run was great. It was a lot better than any runs I've ever had before, and that means a lot because I've trained for numerous 10-mile runs, which means I've ran hundreds and hundreds of miles, and I was running them improperly, which is sad. But the beauty of YouTube and the internet is that I now know how to run properly, and today's run was amazing. I used my Whoop to track the run, track the mileage, clock all of my statistics. I'm super interested in my heart rate variability during this training I want to dial in more on my sleep and what I need to kind of compensate for the energy I'm exerting while training for this marathon between now and October. And I'll put the pictures here from my run this morning and my stats from that. We're going to be real honest here. We're going to keep it real authentic and real transparent. This is where I'm at. Yep, that's a 14-mile pace right there, buddies. Whew, your girl's got a long way to go. And I by no means want to complete this half marathon with like any kind of time frame in mind. I don't even know enough about running yet and like the levels. I just want to do it and complete it and just be so happy with the fact that I completed it. And then depending on how I feel, continue to train, but to do it for time. I think I'm going to cap myself at a half marathon. All of the bloggers I've been listening to, all the podcasts I've been listening to, seems like there's a little bit of an addiction factor there that I need to be very aware of. Phoebe! For my birthday plans, I am going for a run on the Wildwood Boardwalk. Then I'm going to grab a cappuccino that I've been long awaiting for its return at my favorite coffee shop, which I'll include here, which is actually in an Airstream next to the boardwalk in Wildwood. Obsessed. And then I think I'm going to be recording an episode. I'm still scheduling that out with a potential guest. Then I'm going to pick up my husband from work. And I think if weather permits, we're having a picnic outside with my cousin Kaylee. And if weather does not permit, we might go to a restaurant. So exciting, very blessed and thankful to be turning 39 tomorrow and feeling really, this is my year. I'm feeling just a true culmination of the last 39 years of life. I have an episode coming up this Sunday that's going to go a lot more in depth about some recent inner developments that I've had in terms of growth. That was all sparked off of a podcast that I was a guest on that will be coming out this summer. And in telling that story, I realized that I think I'm ready for a new one. And it's put me in a complete tailspin of greatness and discovery and evolution and mindset change. And it kind of feels like a brand new life, a cool life, one I'm very excited to dive headfirst into. So no better time than a birthday to get things going in a greater direction. And I absolutely feel that. And I feel it so much with seeing you guys tuning in every episode. Your views, your shares, they're just incredible. They make me cry. I'm so thankful for all of you. It's insane how many of you listen from around the world. It blows my mind. And to those of you watching on YouTube, I know that that's an entirely different audience, also all around the world. Thank you so much for watching and listening. It really, truly means the world to me. This is my pride and joy. This is what feels like my true purpose in life, just being able to share other stories and just show the world that there's a lot of good happening out there in a sea of bad. And that when bad things do happen, we can make amazing, beautiful things out of them. And that maybe you'll feel a little encouraged to take some bad things that have happened to you and make something beautiful out of them. I am so grateful for you, my Richies. I thank you so much for tuning in every episode, 3 episodes a week, every week. It means the absolute most to me. And I will see you on Sunday for our Sunday strategy sessions. Thank you. And as always, make life rich.